What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Post-Gazette Pirates YouTube channel. He's Andrew Destin. I'm Noah Hiles. And this is our first ever breaking news reaction video on this channel. Andrew, if people can't tell, we just got off the golf course. Thankfully, we've got to finish our round.
That's true. We got 18 in.
Yes, we did. We did. 3.5 hours, too. Pretty impressive.
We're speedy.
And as soon as the round came to an end, news broke that Andrew Heaney signed a 1-year, $5.25 million deal with incentives with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Robert Murray was the first to report news of the agreement. Also, this deal is pending physical.
Yep.
Robert Murray was the first to report news of the agreement. We were the first to report the correct contract terms. Again, 1 year, $5.25 million with $750,000 worth of incentive bonuses attached to the deal. So it could be worth up to $6 million. This is regardless of the incentive bonuses. If this deal becomes official, it is the highest paid free agent contract the Pirates signed this offseason. So let's talk about it. Andrew?
Yeah.
You guys share a name?
Yeah,
it feels like you should be the one to start talking about this. What do you think? Andrew Heaney, a bit of a different pitcher for this team.
Yeah, definitely a different pitcher, a guy who's more fly ball paced at this point in his career. I think the thing that's most notable to me is that this is a guy who's been around the game for a long, long time. When the name was first brought up, when the report came out, my thought was, wow, this guy's been in the game forever. Because I remember when he was a top prospect with the Miami Marlins, ultimately was traded, was briefly a Los Angeles Dodger before he pivoted quickly to the Angels, spent the vast majority of his career there. My initial takeaway is this is a guy who comes with a ton of pedigree, so he checks that box for the Pirates, which they obviously always like. He's an established starter, and he's a lefty. Let's face it, that if the rotation as the current options were currently constructed, it was going to be 4 righties and 1 lefty potentially in Bailey Falter. So here with Heaney, assuming Falter still gets to be in the starting rotation, you could be looking at 3 righties and 2 lefties. Or maybe this increases the competition or, makes things so that, hey, Bailey Falter isn't guaranteed a starting spot. Maybe Andrew Heaney isn't guaranteed a starting spot. My point of this is it increases the competition. It's a guy who's a major league starter who's done it for a decade now. He's established. He's been there, done that. He's won a World Series with the Texas Rangers. On the surface, I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I see a lot of Bailey Falter in this guy. Yeah. Or maybe I see a lot of Andrew Heaney and Bailey Falter. The only difference is I think Heaney gets more from his off speed. Yeah. That was his best pitch last year, had a 4-run value, which ranked in, I believe I have the percentages up here, in the 86th percentile of baseball, which is pretty good. So really effective changeup, uses the 4-seam fastball for 50% of his pitches, throws another fastball, the sinker, 1%. He's going to the Pirates, so you can assume he's going to throw that a little bit more because it seems like everyone's learning that pitch this offseason. Slider, 28% usage, curveball, 4%. And like I said, the change, not a ton of velocity. Fastest pitch is the sinker, which is average at 92.2, which is slightly below the left-handed average. 4-seamer, 91.5 miles an hour. Yeah, but the comparison for Bailey Falter to me is just he's not a ground ball guy. No. Only 34.3% of the contact he induced last year was on the ground. He is a fly ball pitcher, just like Bailey Falter. A little bit different in the fact that I don't think he gets as close to the mound, doesn't get the extension that Bailey Falter does.
Not quite.
But he clearly has had success, Andrew. I mean, obviously, the win-loss record wasn't great, 5-14.
Right.
But I mean, a 4.28 ERA over 160 innings, that's solid.
Right.
And that's what we're looking at for either, we're talking about a guy who isn't going to be the leader of your pitching staff, but a guy who's going to be competing for that 5th spot in the rotation or a long reliever. I like the addition.
Yeah, I think what you're looking at here at this point in his career especially is that it's by no means an apples-to-apples comparison, but if we're sticking with just the first name, Andrew Heaney in a lot of ways reminds me of Andrew Miller. This is a guy who could be that kind of swingman option. It's a really funky delivery. I implore all of you to look into exactly what it looks like because it is kind of a sidewinding motion. It's not quite as deceptive as what Andrew Miller's was when he was that long man with the Red Sox, but I think it makes a ton of sense. I think highly of the deal. I think it's a good one.
So here's some intel I got on Heaney from a league source. This is someone who's worked with Heaney at one of his past organizations, said the organization loved him. that he's a competitor, someone who needed a little bit of delivery and movement maintenance. The slider required some maintenance, and sometimes he will do his own thing a little bit, but you're willing to handle that because he's a competitor.
Yep.
And that's been the emphasis for the Pirates, right? They're acquiring all these guys who have been around winning, who understand what winning is. Caleb Ferguson comes from the Dodgers, the Astros, the Yankees. Tim Mays has been a part of winning teams in Toronto, comes from the Yankees who were in the World Series last year. Now you add in Heaney, who's a part of a World Series title a couple years ago and, has a little bit of edge to him. Mm-hmm. Tommy Pham, the guy who's got the most edge.
Yeah.
So he fits that profile as well. Andrew, I know we talked about it. You talked about it a little bit here, but I think it's worth discussing. Who is a guarantee right now on the Pirates starting rotation? Is Bailey Falter guaranteed at this point?
I don't think so anymore.
Yeah, right. I think it's Jones. I think it's Skenes. I think it's Keller. And then I think you have like 10 guys after that who I could see being a starter. I could see being a long relief guy, ready and waiting to be a starter if needed. Or I could see them saying, hey, we're going to put you in a different role this year. We're really going to commit you to being a leverage guy. It's something you might not have done in your career, but we think you can be really good at it.
Yeah, I think, and for me too, I think tinfoil hat incoming here, but maybe it signals something about the rest of the Pirates starting rotation depth too. I think one thing that's worthwhile to bring up is yesterday we had a chance to talk with Todd Tomczyk, one of the, the team doctor essentially, and he mentioned that with Johan Oviedo that he's done tremendous with his rehab. He's progressing well. He's in the live bullpen phase, but not quite pitching without he's not pitching without any restrictions. That he is still in the process of returning from Tommy John surgery. Now, obviously, it's February. There's plenty of time until games get started. I had kind of penciled in Oviedo as a guy who could be a member of the starting rotation from opening day onward. Mm-hmm. Maybe this move signals, hey, Oviedo is not quite as ready.
On the 15-day IL.
Yeah, could be, just to slowly bring him along. Maybe it means they're not quite so confident that Mike Burrows last year in a small cup of coffee in the big leagues looked great. Maybe they're not confident that he should be a major league starting pitcher if Oviedo's not ready to go. The same applies to Bubba Chandler, that after not appearing in many minor league games last year, or AAA starts last year, he looked really good for Indianapolis. Maybe they want him to get some more seasoning in the minor leagues. I think you add all those question marks together. Maybe it was why they felt inclined to bring aboard another starting pitcher. That's just kind of my theory about this.
Yeah, and you look, the Pirates clearly needed to add. They didn't have that eventful of an offseason, and this was the way you can do it.
Yeah.
There weren't a ton of bats out there to get in the free agent market. And maybe this is a move that signals another move's coming via trade. Maybe they loaded up on another arm. Mm-hmm. That way they would feel comfortable dealing away an arm.
Sure.
And that's just speculation. That's not me going off of anything that I've heard. But this is interesting. I mean, it seems like they're really leaning into their strengths here, Andrew. They've been very vocal about that. This is a team that's going to win with its pitching, and they continue to add on. They've got every type of pitcher now you can think of, guys who have stuff, guys who have velocity, guys who have precision, guys who get ground balls, guys who are fly ball pitchers, guys who can attack the zone, guys who are a little bit wild, and they need to find the strike zone more. They've got a little bit of everything, Coach Marine, Coach Strom, that whole pitching group, they've got their hands full because they've got to figure out who the best 13 are. And there's going to be someone left off who another team will gladly have on its opening day roster.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, this is going to be something for them to continue to grapple with, figure out exactly what they're going to do with this starting pitching group. Maybe it does leave somebody available to the potential that they could be dealt. But the way I view this is it's never a bad thing to add starting pitching depth. We've heard that from Ben Cherington, Derek Shelton. And I think, maybe the most important takeaway here, he's different. He's a lefty. They don't have a whole lot of those,
right?
Especially in the starting pitching regards. There was some talks of maybe even Caleb Ferguson could be starting games. I think the signing of Heaney eliminates that notion, at least for the time being. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe both of them could be starters at some point this year. But I think this just adds to a group of lefties that there's a lot of potential there. That being said, there are a lot of question marks about a lot of the lefties here in big league camp.
That's all we got for tonight. We'll have a lot more coverage on this move and everything else the Pirates do throughout spring training and the regular season. So hit that subscribe button to our channel if you haven't already, and check out our work at post-gazette.com. Big thanks to our show sponsor, Greenewalt Roofing. You're going to hear from them soon, and keep tuned in. We'll have more coverage here on the Pirates Post-Gazette Pirates YouTube channel.
Hey, Pittsburgh. When you think of great roofs, you think Greenewalt Roofing Company. With over 20 years experience, Greenewalt knows your roof is your home's first line of defense from rain, wind, snow, and ice. That's why Greenewalt Roofing's standard for perfection is so important. You can trust that their team of experienced installers will treat your property like it's their own. When it comes to roof replacements, Greenewalt Roofing is Pittsburgh's only choice. Visit greenewaltroofing.com today or call 412-314-8882 to schedule your free estimate. PA contractor number 36262.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.